Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of SacTown Movie Buffs. Once again, I'm Kier, and this is Jason. And today we are back. We're doing another one of our series, our Indie of the Week series. And today's film we're going to be covering will be East LA Interchange. So I will actually do a brief little synopsis on this film here, and I say we just kind of get right into it. So East LA Interchange is actually a documentary film that was actually directed by Betsy Kalin. It's actually the theme of the film is actually set in obviously in East Los Angeles, and actually focuses primarily on a section called Boyle Heights, which was a very kind of influential city. Has always been dating back all the way back to like the 1920s and moving forward. And basically, the documentary basically chronicles the different changes and things of that nature of that city. If you don't know much about LA, basically, LA is from some part is kind of a diverse and very in some ways segregated city. But what's so interesting about Boyle Heights is initially it was primarily a very diverse city. There were blacks and Hispanics and Russians and immigrants and Japanese and that sort of thing, and that's those all sorts of different types of people that basically frequented that city. And what the documentary kind of focuses on is the basic different dynamics of how the city has kind of changed and evolved over the course of, the last, 60, 70, 80 years, basically. It's a very interesting documentary in that it takes you through kind of, like I said, kind of how the city came about. And it kind of goes through the World War II, where basically they were taking Japanese Americans and putting them in internment camps. It kind of takes you through the different types of communities how they change and redlining the districts and that sort of stuff. And then also focuses on basically the freeway system, which is the interchange system that basically was built essentially right in the middle of their city. So it has like one of the largest like freeway systems that was built basically right above their city, and they kind of focus in on that. It's got a lot of great interviews. It was narrated by Danny Trejo. It's got an interview with will.i.am, who's also from that city as well. Also, they interview Josefina Lopez, who's actually the writer of Real Women Have Curves. So I found it very interesting. It's a very short documentary. It's only about 57 minutes long. But like I said, it kind of sprawls through a lot of history, a lot of different elements of East LA, specifically Boyle Heights. And, it does talk about the crime, some of the gangs and that sort of stuff, and the negative stigma about it. And also talks about a little bit of the gentrification of that city as well, with all the different changes and infrastructures that they're trying to build, and basically how that's kind of destroying the roots of what the city was basically founded on, which is really about community. And so it's a very interesting documentary. Like I said, it's only 57 minutes long, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was really interesting. I love the way that it went through the different decades and how the city kind of changed and evolved, and the dynamics that it went through, through, like I said, the 20s and the 40s and the 50s, 60s, 70s, all the way up until today. And so I found it really interesting. I didn't know a whole lot about Boyle Heights specifically. I knew a lot about East LA, just, having visited, we live in Sacramento, so we would go down to LA all the time. So I've been through different parts of East LA. Not sure I've been directly through Boyle Heights, but I've been through different factions of different areas within that city. And, I thought it was really interesting. It was something that I had never knew about before. I didn't know about the different dynamics of the cities. I didn't know about all the different changes that happened over the cities, and obviously I didn't know about all the major intersecting freeways that they basically built right above the city as well, which I found very interesting. That I just can imagine living in a city and just watching it slowly become like kind of an underpass of like all these different like sprawling freeways, which is crazy. But no, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great film. Definitely a great documentary. Definitely hats off to the director, Betsy Kalin. Thought she did a phenomenal job. Kept it very interesting, very entertaining, and I thought it was fun. So like I said, it's definitely one of the better documentaries that I've seen this year so far. I mean, I think the film was originally made, I think, in 2015. But I do know that you can find it streaming on Amazon Prime right now. So what was your take, Jason?
Oh, I felt about the same way. I found it, I really liked it. Of course, I've heard of Boyle Heights. I love LA. I go there fairly frequently. Normally I would have been there just a couple of weeks ago, in a normal year. But I'm usually I'm in Hollywood or Burbank or Pasadena or Glendale. Those are the areas I kind of know. And based on the map that they show, it looks like this is kind of close to Glendale. Mm-hmm. So I've been near there, but I've never been to Boyle Heights as far as I know. But yeah, I thought the history was really interesting. Like you said, it's only 57 minutes, so it doesn't get too deep into anything really, but it brings up a lot of interesting factors and it discusses them in like a complex way. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it brings up, like you said, immigration, white flight, gentrification, Japanese internment. Right. And, one of the most interesting topics I thought was the gentrification part, because it's like, the people don't necessarily agree with what gentrification is. Right. Does this qualify as gentrification, or is this, where's the line between trying to raise your community up and gentrification? Because right. There's definitely a line there, but where is it?
Yeah, so, I agree. And like I said, the doc kind of focuses on building a Walgreens and that sort of stuff. And this was a community that primarily had like a lot of local stores. Right. And they had a lot of ethnic stores and storefronts, if you will. They had, shops that were owned by Russians and Japanese and Hispanic and all these different cultures. And so I think part of the gentrification that they were complaining about, or that the doc was focusing on, is how, by bringing in the Walmarts or, the Walgreens and these types of stores, you're slowly pushing out a lot of the roots of what the community was founded on. And I think that's a very interesting point. And it's something that you don't see just necessarily in Boyle Heights, but in other cities as well. I've heard same thing about people that I got friends that grew up like in New York and Brooklyn and that sort of stuff. And they're like, yeah, now there's a Starbucks on every corner. So we're losing our identity. We're losing our culture. And so I could definitely resonate with the clash of that. People want infrastructure. They want the city to get cleaned up. They want, businesses to come in, but not at the cost of losing other businesses that were founded in that community and been rooted in that community as well.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a very easy watch, enjoyable, informative. And I really liked, like you said, all the interviews, especially I really liked the older people that were interviewed that actually remember the way it was like in the 40s and the 50s and stuff like that, back when it was just like a really great, not that it's not now, but I mean, like it was this really diverse, just working class neighborhood, you know what I mean? And, it was, watching them kind of reminisce about that era was one of my favorite parts about it. But yeah, I enjoyed the whole thing. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, and some of the older people, just so you know, got a frame of reference. I mean, they were talking to people that like moved there like back in like the 1919 or like 1920. Yeah. So these are people that are like in their 80s and 90s that they're interviewing that can still remember the times of back then. And there was a guy that, I think it was a white guy that was there, and he was just like, yeah, I grew up speaking Spanish and Russian and you know what I mean, and that sort of stuff. And it seemed like it was a really kind of a close-knit community at one point in time, that kind of changed, and that was one thing that the documentary actually showed, was kind of how it changed, how at one point there really wasn't a whole lot of Hispanics there, but there was a lot of like blacks and Asians and Russians and that sort of stuff, and white people as well. And then like you alluded to, and then at some point in time, based on redlining the districts and offering up, better housing based on your I guess demographic, if you will, a lot of people ended up moving out of the neighborhood because they were getting better prime rates or better prime real estates. If you were a white person, you could get a better prime real estate on a home in a different neighborhood than you could in that particular neighborhood, which was kind of interesting, I thought, because some of these neighborhoods that these people were moving to are, of course, considered to be more affluent today, but they were actually getting homes for cheaper than what they were living in Boyle Heights at the time.
And, I didn't realize that. I didn't know that part of it.
Yeah, so it was very interesting. So yeah, definitely a great documentary. Definitely, like I said, it's on Amazon Prime. Definitely one that I would recommend everybody check out, and especially anybody that's interested in history and the changing of dynamics and kind of how cities are kind of formed and how they change and how they grow over time. I thought was really interesting because I don't know if I've ever seen a documentary quite that went through from basically the early 1900s up to present day, you know what I mean? And kind of talked about the different dynamics and the different peoples, the different identities that city kind of took on over time. So I thought that was very interesting as well. So, but great. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, glad it sounds like we both enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, as we are a movie review show, I'm going to start off with you. I guess what was your overall grade and the face you would give East LA Interchange?
I gave it a 4 out of 5. So for me, that's a good solid B+. And B this face. Smile with some teeth.
Absolutely. I'm actually going to give it the same grade. I'm actually going to give it a 4 out of 5 as well. So I enjoyed it. My 4 out of 5 is just kind of like an A+. And
I know, for you. Yeah.
So
I think it's that's the highest you've gone all year, I think.
I've given other 4s out of 5s. But I definitely enjoyed it. I definitely thought it was a great film. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5, and I'm going to give it this face, which is also a big smile with some teeth as well. So so definitely great. Can't wait to see. I've been in some conversations with the director. Sounds like she's working on some additional projects. I'd be very interested to see some of her other projects and works that she's working on. But like I said, definitely one that I would urge everyone to check out. Well, we thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the review. And as always, if you like the channel, we ask that you like, subscribe, and then as always, hit the bell notification so you don't miss any of our updates. And we will be back again with another show for you soon. Have a great day. Bye.